listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
And welcome to another edition of West Coast Bias presented by Baseball Isn't Boring. We are here. We're like 28-ish games at the time of the recording of this into the season, and who better to kind of assess the situation, at least with the Dodgers. We'll kind of dance around the division a little bit too in the NL, with the hosts of Talk Dodgers to Me, a podcast about the Dodgers, of course, hosted by Jaclyn, Ruiz, and Melissa Myer. Ladies, welcome in and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. This is fun.
So fun. Thank you.
Coming off a win. Very happy to be here.
Yes. Yeah, well, as the time as we're recording this, it's Sunday after the Dodgers took the series from the Pittsburgh Pirates. You all were there Friday. The vibes deteriorated pretty quickly on Friday too. So I wanted to ask you, while you were there, what was the vibe like? Just because I feel like on TV, it looked a little flat just overall. So did you all feel the same?
Well, walking in, it was so crowded. I mean, Skeens versus Yamamoto, that was all the hype. And we were so pumped getting there. There were so many people excited about it. And then I feel like once the game started going, the energy just died. And it really didn't pick back up.
It didn't. When we went to opening day, one of our comments was like, is it October baseball? Like the energy of just everyone. I think people were just so excited to see the boys play again. And like, we were lucky to see them in Tokyo, but it was just like, this was the first time people really got to see them from the win. And Friday felt different. Usually we show up together, but she went a little earlier. And growing up in LA, like you knew that if it was certain people, and it's really interesting. I used to know, like, if it's a Giants game or something, like, traffic is going to be insane. It's going to be 10 times harder to get in. You have to plan it differently versus if it was against somebody else. It's very different this season. I mean, going in, I was just like, what? The traffic is insane. I mean, people are very on fire.
Listen,
definitely died.
You learn where to park. You walk into the stadium. And then you don't complain.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And that's what I do every time now. So I don't really have to deal with that, getting in and out and all that traffic. But no matter what time of day it is, like I'm so happy to be at Dodger Stadium. But it's kind of been a little bit rough for the Dodgers. So we were really excited to be in a new series. But then it just died down. But I'm very happy we won the last 2 games. Today was great. I wish we were there for that. I'd way rather see them get hit after hit than get shut out.
Yeah.
I know I buried the lead a little bit because that was the Skeens Yamamoto game, and there was quite a bit of hype. I mean, myself, I was excited for what that was. And I listened to it. I couldn't watch it because I was working, but I was more like, okay, if Yamamoto's had a great start to the season, in comparison to what it was last year. So far, no sophomore slump. And then Paul Skeens started kind of a little rocky too, right? And then he got into the groove, and that's all she wrote. But I was really curious to see if that energy was going to be kind of like you were saying, Jaclyn, like that opening day vibe, because it's a big matchup, kind of one of the bigger matchups right out, of the season, and it just kind of didn't live up to the hype.
I mean, it started off that way, but almost immediately when the game started going and Skeens, I mean, it's not like Yamamoto pitched poorly.
No.
Was on fire. Actually, wasn't at the most innings he's pitched that game.
I believe you are correct.
Or the most pitches he threw.
Yes, the highest pitch count of the
season.
He was
just on fire.
Right.
So props to him,
Well, and I think at some point, and if you are a winner and you can acknowledge when somebody has that edge, I think maybe that's why all of us kind of kicked back. It was like, they have this edge. They have this fire in them. I don't know. The Dodgers are the only ones who can turn that around.
Right.
So you mean the Pirates had the fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did.
Well, we've talked about this on the podcast so many times, especially now after coming off a World Series win. Every team is going to play their best baseball against us. So we have to be able to match that every single time. And we saw that with the Cubs. They played amazing against us.
It's like they have something to prove. And
And
like,
that's what the Pirates did. And they showed up game one ready to go. And we didn't.
Well, and obviously defending champs, you got the thing on your back, right? Everyone's going to give you their best shot every series for, however many games, whether it's 2 games like with the Cubs, 3 game, whatever, right? It's one of those where you're absolutely just going to get their best shot. And listen, the Pirates, the expectations are not the same as the Dodgers, right? Nowhere near kind of what it is. I mean, there's been even rumblings that Skeens isn't even stoked about being on that team, kind of like when you hear him give interviews about anything. And so for him, I mean, obviously, he was ready, right? I mean, that dude's a gamer, and you knew you were going to get his best shot. And again, to your point, it's not like Yamamoto had the worst outing of the season or anything to that effect. It was just the Pirates, they were just making less mistakes. I mean, that's just kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, there were parts of last season where I felt like I wanted more fire in our guys during the regular season, and they didn't start really showing that till later on. So I'm kind of just hoping that it's the same, and they just got to get in sync. And then they showed up the next 2 days. So I'm feeling okay.
Did either of you try the Pittsburgh dog that they had for this series?
We've had the home run platter a couple times now. That's been our favorite.
Okay.
Although they have this giant hot dog now they're offering at Dodger Stadium that our producer is a big Cubs fan. He actually hates the Dodgers. So that's been a fun part of our podcast that he brings us back to life sometimes.
not so fun because the Cubs have been kind of
not
like,
so much. Losing
I am
6-0.
I'm not just losing to the Cubs. I'm now having to lose to Adam, and it's just like a whole other.
Well, he was actually at the game today, so he got to watch the Dodgers, get hit after hit, and he just roots against them. Whoever's playing, root for them.
So he's a hater, is what you're saying.
He's the biggest hater.
Okay.
But I think that's a lot of why teams are showing up, because if you take away just like the team, these are athletes, and all they hear about is like, I feel bad, like you just said, like he doesn't really sound pumped to play for their team, and I feel like there's just been this pull of players wanting to play for the Dodgers and respecting what the organization is, and it's beyond just winning. I think they really, really just like, they love the culture of what the boys are doing, what the clubhouse looks like, what they have as a team, and I think as any athlete, when you play for a team that your whole team pumps you up and it's like the energy of all of it, I think all of the athletes are kind of craving what the Dodgers are bringing, but they're showing up to be like, you're not that good.
But also with an ownership group that is willing to spend money and wants to. I mean, isn't that why someone like Joe will only play for the Dodgers?
Well, I mean, it's just like in real life, right? And not to say that isn't real life, but, for anyone that has a job, when you hear your friend has a dope job and they take care of everybody there, hey, are they hiring? Can I look, you want to look into trying to go over there and just try to, because you like the culture, you like what they're doing, you like what they're giving out to the employees. I mean, you can't fault him in any way, shape, or form, assuming that's what's happening when you hear that. Because I mean, again, to your point, our boss, the big guy, Joe Kelly, has made it abundantly clear he doesn't want to sign for anyone else unless it's the Dodgers, and that's the plan. I mean, he and Bradfo a couple days ago talked about it a little bit on an episode, and that's his plan. Is just the Dodgers. Otherwise, he's just going to keep coaching his kid's baseball team.
We had to ask him that when he came on our podcast.
Oh, I know. And for those that didn't get a chance to listen, can you surmise kind of what the big guy said?
I said, Mariachi Joe can't go anywhere but the Dodgers, right? And he said, yep. And that was it.
That's Joe Kelly. I mean, he's going to tell you how it is. He's going to shoot you straight, and that's just what it is.
And that's why he's a fan favorite, and that's why his mural will stay at Dodger Stadium.
So I had a question about that. We internally here at Baseball Isn't Boring, we've kind of riffed about the murals, right? The mural situation at Dodger Stadium. And we were talking, okay, if they're going to move on from a mural, which is the one that they're going to move on from to do whatever, whether it's an homage to maybe Fernando Valenzuela or, to another kind of championship mural, if you will. I mean, obviously, if you've been to the Ravine, you've seen the big vinyl that they have on the side there. But do you think that they would actually ever move on from that Mariachi Joe mural? And if they do, what would they put there?
Well, you know how when Carlos Correa, there were talks about him coming to the Dodgers and the fans just freaked out and it didn't happen? I feel that something similar would happen. The fans won't allow it. So I'm going to say
even
no.
when we
it's
went,
going to stay. There's a line to take pictures.
Yeah, there was a line to take pictures. Like we were going to interview him the day after. And like, honestly, the way we parked, we walked in and his mural was there. Like it was just so busy. And like, we were like, okay, so fitting. We got to take a picture. There was a line. And we kind of took the moment of like, okay, let's hear what the fans. So we started asking people like, we're going to interview Joe Kelly. Like what, as a fan, what would you say? And like, so many people were just like, can you just tell him that like, we love him. Like, thank you. Like, thank you for giving sass when we couldn't. Mm-hmm. And thank you for putting these people in their place. And like, it was so funny when we were telling him this story, he goes, so no questions.
I mean, yeah, but they weren't like giving us questions to ask him. They were more just like, thank you, Joe. I mean, listen, I had so much respect for him and what he did for, when he was on the Dodgers pitching against the first time we played the Trash Stros. I still won't call them their real name. But when I read his book and read those first 5 pages and how he talked about it, I felt like for the first time satisfied, because you want to hear from the players and hear them talk crap about what happened and hear their true thoughts, but they're not really going to say it. And that's why people love Joe. And that's why they can't remove the mural, because he's the voice of the fans.
Yeah, he really is. It's so funny because if you think about it, it's like, how long have we been like Kobe versus Jordan or who's better and all this? But it's like, in the end, they're just like friends and they talk and no one's going to actually like be disrespectful. It's really nice that someone's like, no, that's not my friend. And I do not care about being disrespectful. And it's like, yeah.
I mean, I knew Joe was about that life a long time ago, but I knew he was about that life where, if you've read the book, he talks about the Austin Riley thing where he saw him in Times Square and he was about to get out of the car to whip his ass. I mean, that's a thing. That's a real thing. And if you've read that book, if you haven't, go find the book. But I mean, that's real.
Or when they be at the hotel at the same time during the COVID bubble and all that stuff.
Yep. Well, and I did ask if Correa got a copy of the book, and I have not been given an update yet. So I asked on your behalf to make sure that to see if I could kind of circle back and tie the loose ends. Unfortunately, I can't give you an update, but my hope is that I can give you an update soon to see if in fact it did get to Correa. I don't know if it did, but I like you all, I am actually really curious to what Correa thinks about the book, because he doesn't hold back. I mean, that's the thing about Joe, is Joe's going to tell you what's on his mind and he's not going to hold back. So I wanted to ask you, I mean, Melissa, you've already kind of alluded to it. I don't think you'd be happy if Correa would have signed with the Dodgers. Jaclyn, are you in the same boat?
Yeah, no, we're good.
No, thank you.
There's just certain people
also,
we just don't need.
No way that he hasn't read it, right?
I mean, having been in clubhouses, I know those guys all kind of talk about what's kind of out there.
Oh, locker
I would
room
be
talk
shocked.
is real.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
Oh, be a fly on those walls. I know. Yeah. That's why we got to keep interviewing players, because that's what I want to ask them about. I want to know about those conversations.
And for the record, if you haven't, I mean, obviously it's all over our platform. Damn Near Perfect Game, Reclaiming America's Pastime. That's the book that we were talking about, that Joe Kelly, if you look at the cover, it's him making the pouty face, the famous pouty face. So that's been immortalized all over the place in LA too, which is, again, it's one of those, that's what my favorite thing is to the point of those fans. I mean, Joe himself has said, I don't give a shit guy. And he's about that life. And sometimes, I mean, he wasn't even on the damn team in 2017.
I know.
And he still took matters into his own hands. But I mean, that tells you how loyal he is to his guys, because he saw what had happened to his guys, even though he wasn't there. Yo, this is still unfinished business. We're going to throw hands about this to resolve.
Let's be honest. Like, he probably thrives in it a little. And he's probably like, ooh, yeah, I can stir it up here. Let's do it.
Joe Kelly Fight Club, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and listen, he's from Riverside, California. Sometimes there's some shit out there that you have to do it that way. And that, once you're from that, it's hard to get that out of you. And that's just where it's at. But that's why I love Joe. I mean, Joe's going to tell you how it is, and he's not really going to kind of beat around the bush. And I mean, again, for me, I just have the visual in my head of him trying to get out of this car to try to chase Austin Riley in Times Square. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, now he can get out of his Porsche that was gifted from Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
Well, actually, Ashley can.
Well, yeah. I mean, same difference, right?
He's very loud about the fact that he drives it.
Yes, yes, he
So
is.
cute.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
So with kind of the season where it's at, I feel like this is kind of the same. I refer to it in fandom as years of abuse. And what I say by that is you kind of have the same story just in a different year, right? So this year the Dodgers have essentially three guys that are starters that are down. Glass now went down today. It sounds like it's a shoulder. Blake Snell's having it sounds like they dodged kind of the worst of it, but they're still kind of shutting them down for a little bit. And they're still trying to kind of figure out what the rotation is. This is as I mentioned with the regular thing of it's that time of year again. I had chatted with Bill Plunkett a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Hey, this is the same thing that happened not too long ago." So I wanted to throw some names out of you guys just to see. It's an exercise. I just want to see what you guys think of this particular player, where we're at right now, and then we'll go from there. So let's start with Roki Sasaki.
Oh, love him.
Love him.
He's so cute. He also is very flexible. That leg kick. Listen, he's going to be great.
Mhm.
He's going to be great. He's building his confidence. He's getting better each time.
Yeah. I've he's so young.
Yeah.
And he is in a whole new country, and like being able to go to Japan and kind of see it and how it's gonna take time. I mean,
He's getting used to our toilets. Have you heard the talk?
I did hear about the bidet thing.
Listen, we came from Tokyo, so we get it.
literally we sat down with Oral Hershiser and he asked us about Tokyo, and the only thing I could say was the toilets. And he was like, man, this is my dream to sit on a podcast with two beautiful women and talk about toilets. But it was just I can imagine if that was your culture forever, like, yeah, what do you mean these are just our toilets? But
You
that's
want the
my point.
comforts
It's
of
like
home.
there's a lot of adjustment. There's a lot of adjustment. Yamamoto, like, he didn't have the best there takes time to adjust to everything. I think he's gonna be
This wasn't a one-word answer thing, is it?
No.
It's like-
I want to get your
just making
candid
sure.
thoughts on what you think when you hear the player's name. And you're right though.
But even think about Roki from his first outing in Tokyo. I felt like he was so nervous. And now seeing him settle in a bit, like, I'm happy for him. He's getting better, growing his confidence each time.
I saw that he had a new warm-up song, and it was like all about like, it was like Roki, it was almost like the Kike Kike Kike, but it was like a very Latin energy, but it was saying Roki, and it was just like, but that is, and he's sitting there talking with Kike, and you can see these pictures of them cracking up in the dugout, and it's like, that's what makes me feel like it's gonna be fine, because he's just a young kid who's just figuring it out, and he's gonna fall right into his mecca. I just think he's getting comfortable.
To your point, those comforts of home matter. I mean, whether it's something as simple as a bidet or restaurant, right? Like those sorts of things absolutely matter. I mean, go and it's a huge jump for him. He's a 23-year-old kid. We have to remember that. What were you doing when you were 23? Probably not pitching in the big leagues, let alone for the Los Angeles Dodgers, let alone your debut is at the Tokyo Dome with the Beatles, right? Otani, Yamamoto, the whole thing. So, I mean, it's one of those where even that opening series back in LA where you could tell he was wearing his emotions on his sleeve, he's still kind of learning the motions, right? The curve is huge. I mean, going from, no disrespect to Japanese baseball, that's the second best league in the world, but you're going from that to here, and the gap is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Pages.
Oh, I love him. He's on fire. Okay, 9 for 10 in this Pirate series. Went 4 for 5 today.
I am a huge advocate for the dude. They wanted him. We're so ready to send him back to the freaking minors. And he took it and he flipped it. And he was like, you know what? He used it the way that you should use fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And he is showing up. And it's not like he's just perfect. It's just he's being consistent, and it locked him in. And I'm here for that kind of energy, because mentally it could have completely sucked him dry.
Well, he made a bunch of errors and he wasn't having the best start. But then I feel like he goes back and he practices. He shows up early. He asks the veteran guys for help. He's absorbing it all, and it's only making him better.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really happy for him. Really happy to see it. We added every episode we're doing Player of the Week. So he's been in the running.
Mm-hmm. He really has been in the running.
We don't tell each other our picks, but he's in the running this week for me.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think he was the player of the week for the Dodgers. I mean, he had He had a great
So
week.
he's your pick. Okay.
He would be my pick, yes. If I mean, obviously unsolicited because I'm not a part of your show, but I mean, here we don't do that because it's me. But I would say Andy Pajas is the player of the week because I mean he's crushing it. I mean, obviously defensively he's stepped it up quite a bit. And to your point,
Great
like we were
catches.
talking a little bit ago, right? Do you want to be a wall in those conversations in the clubhouse? I'm sure he was seeing the comments, hearing kind of the vitriol of like, yo, send this dude down. And it's, sometimes it's either if you read, I'm not a person that reads comments, but if you do, it's either you're going to use it for motivation or it's going to eat at you. There's kind of no in between.
Well, and the cutthroat issue of it is that if you're not showing up, like, yeah, you've got to go.
Yeah.
Like I'm loyal and I'm here to like have them work out the kinks, but like how long are we going to do this? And I'm not trying to be mean, but like it's really nice when a player is kind of, making the errors and not really showing up, but it starts to click and it's so great. It doesn't feel good even with Max Muncy. It does not feel good to feel like soon. Get the fuck out of here because you want this, like, I want him to do well, but like, look, like, okay, dude, like,
well, now it's kind of getting to a point where we're not, we're like, okay, he's gonna come through. He's gonna come through. Things are gonna start clicking.
But we also think that's almost a good fire for them because they have to stay on their game or they're gonna get replaced.
Next man up.
Well, I mean, and to the cutthroatness of this, I mean, this team, the expectation is win now. I mean, that's just what it is, right? I mean, it's, obviously Major League Baseball isn't as cutthroat as like the NFL per se, but I mean, the cutthroatness of it all that's a thing. I mean, that's a real thing. Serendipitously, you did say the next name I was going to say is Max Muncy. So Max Muncy.
Okay. Well, we love him. We love Max, but really struggling with him right now because for the last couple of weeks we're like he's gonna pull it together, things are just gonna sync up for him, it's not his time yet, and then another day goes by and he's making another error, and then another day he's getting another strikeout. Then we are seeing him walk more, which I think is a good sign. He got a hit today.
It shows that he's seeing the ball and that he's not just moving off of emotion, because sometimes when you just want to connect you just are gonna swing and like but it's so hard because it's like, what are we supposed to just like write him off? Like, no, I mean, he's obviously a key player for a reason. And mentally, I'm not here to like add to it. Like, I want him to pull out of it. But at some point, it's like.
The thing is, though, no one's more frustrated than Max is with himself.
Yeah.
So when fans are hating, and we heard that his wife is getting death threats, like that's not okay. Because at the end of the day, no one cares more than him. And he's more frustrated than everybody put together. Right. So wishing the best for him and hoping that things start clicking.
For me, this was going to be an interesting one because I feel like it's been well received, but it's kind of ebbed and flowed. Michael Conforto.
Oh, well, okay.
She's like huge on it.
I just was learning about him.
Well, no. Okay. So she actually at the beginning was like, he's had to really earn his spot with me. And like, he's still kind of like.
Well, every new player does. I don't just automatically like them. They have to prove themselves.
But she has been really pushing for him.
Up until like,
I don't think
the last couple series. He was getting hit after hit. He was great. And then it kind of slowed down. But that's baseball, guys.
Yeah, you're right. I actually have.
Teams have ebbs and flows. Players have ebbs and flows. So I'm just riding the waves with our guys.
I haven't, we have so many players on our team, like the Otani, the Tias, like all Kike, like these players that just rip your heart open. I haven't really gotten to that point with Conforto yet. Like, I don't know if I've made that heart connection yet.
Spaghetti sauce grandma story about him didn't open your heart up?
Well, I mean, it depends how good the tomato sauce is.
Did you try the sauce or no?
Because he was talking about his grandma making this tomato sauce. And
he should come on and bring us some sauce. We'll share some spaghetti with him, and I might feel different.
It reminded me of my grandma growing up, so that's when I'm like, okay, I like him.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like Jaclyn's alluding to. I need to break bread to kind of really understand kind of the deal here, because otherwise, it's a push. Is kind of what I've gathered.
Yeah.
The invitation is open, Michael Conforto.
One for me, it's been an interesting one. But Enrique Hernandez, or Kike Hernandez as referred to. I know we all love him personality wise, right? But it's taken a minute for him to kind of really I don't know. He's been seeing the ball well, but it hadn't been going. So that's why I was curious for you all, especially since you all, kind of watch just about every game, if there was, if anything had changed kind of sentiment wise. Because I love Kike. I love that dude as a clubhouse guy. Obviously, his abilities speak for themselves, but the slow start, I mean, when it rains, it pours a little bit, right?
Well, how do you even call it a slow start when he hasn't played that much?
Thank you.
And that's a factor too. And that's something I'm really curious and have been asking a lot of people that come on the podcast, like a Max Muncy, like a Chris Taylor, who's struggling so much. Like, how do they get better if they're not playing consistently? Because it's playing consistently that's going to help their timing and help all that stuff. So I battle with that a little bit because, yeah, you want them to perform every time. But hey, you brought him up yesterday in a spot and he hits a homer. He's that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing every which position, and he, for the most part, will always come through with a play. I think where I struggle is like, you guys took forever to even sign him, and now everyone wants to focus on him being the only player that is not coming through or blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys were maybe not even going to sign him. Like, and you guys, you rely on him so much of like, at some point, does that kind of mess with the player's mind where it's like, you want me to be this person who shows up every single time, but like you also weren't sure if you were going to have me on the team or have a place for me. I kind of just feel like he has to fit in his own spot. Like
I feel like he knows his role. And I think you put him at any position, he makes really great plays. I'm consistently impressed with him. I want them to give him more playing time.
I will say I know that he's as pro as it comes in the sense of he knows his role on the team. He knows where he sits in the pecking order, and he respects the hell out of the game. Obviously in his way too, because he likes to have fun. But I mean, he also didn't sign here expecting to play every day. I mean, if that's what the thinking was, then he probably made the wrong decision, right? Because there's no way that he was going to play every day. But I mean, him and Chris Taylor, to your point, I agree with that. I feel like that's the part that's kind of like left out when people go out of their way to kind of disparage these guys, right? Oh, they're not showing up or whatever. It's like, well, they're not playing every day. Like when you at this level, if you want them to be that consistent, they really have to play regularly. Otherwise, you are going to be a little rusty just because that's just a part of it. It's the motions of the game. But again, I just want to point that out because I see a lot on Twitter. Like I don't read the comments per se, but I do read them for fun sometimes. But one of my favorite things is when the Dodgers lose, the world's falling, right? Everything's going straight to hell, everything's falling apart, and then you see kind of who the scapegoats are. And you see kind of the usual suspects, if Chris Taylor or Max Muncy, unfortunately, Kike falls in there sometimes. Obviously, the pitchers in some cases, and that's tough. But a lot of those guys aren't everyday guys. I mean, that's the tough thing.
But I fall back on this interview that Kike was recently on, and like he said, like your role changes, and I think it's like he isn't maybe always hitting, and he's kind of been like a little bit, but then there's a picture of him cracking up with like Roki in the dugout, and it's like I just feel like he taps into things that maybe people have no idea that he's helping the team in so many other aspects of like, that's what I love about him, honestly.
Well, even like people talk about Austin Barnes and why he's still on the team. When you hear players talk about him, it's so different. He's the captain. He has such a huge role in the clubhouse and behind the scenes. So I just, since starting the podcast and diving into baseball more than ever, I want to know all the stuff around it so that when I see one of those comments and the fans are saying stuff to us, it's like, think about things from this perspective or what they do for the team or in the clubhouse and their leadership role and things like that. I think that is important too, especially to the Dodgers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you have to have a clubhouse guy or guys in some cases, especially on a team like this, because if the expectation is to win now, then you automatically think that clubhouse is going to be very uptight. And usually the good teams, and what I mean by that is like your special teams, is they're pretty lax for the most part. Like they know what they have to do. They got to show up and do what they got to do, but that's why, Mookie can go do the things that he does kind of off the field, right? You have the unicorn on your team, and the amount of eyes that your team has to begin with is already tough. So you kind of have to break up that, the seriousness of it and go about your business the right way. I mean, we see it a little bit like with the backstage Dodger stuff, where how often did you ever think that Freddie Freeman stood up to say anything, whether it was when Brent Honeywell was in Texas, things like that, right? So I mean, that dynamic, the clubhouse dynamic, is something that a lot of folks don't understand per se. But that's why you have guys like Austin Barnes, who a lot of people say is one of the funniest guys on the team, but you never hear him really say much. But he doesn't.
Well, it's Austin and Joe who they say, like, who would you want if you're like in a fight or something? Those are the two names you hear. So.
Yep. But kind of moving on, I wanted to pick I wanted to hear your experience about Japan, because I had FOMO. I really wanted to go to Japan. However, I could not because of work, and that's dumb. So what was it like seeing the American Beatles in Japan while you guys were there?
I could see why everyone had FOMO. I would have had FOMO not being there and being able to experience that. I almost hope they do it again, just because I think there's people are, what they're craving and what they're seeing is exactly what it was, even tenfold.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
First of all, last season on the podcast, as soon as we heard about the Tokyo series, we just kept saying, we're going to be there. We're going to be there, and worked our ass off to get there and made it happen. So very proud of that. And being there and experiencing it, I can only imagine what that did for our team. For like a Shohei, a Yamamoto, or Roki, to have everybody experience their culture, where they're from, and start the season that way is really special, and I'm sure bonded them immensely. But being in the stadium, I mean, the thing we always talk about is the complete silence when Shohei got up to bat. Like, you could seriously hear a pin drop. And I know people say that, but you really could.
I was in the outfield, and yes, the crack of the bat and like hearing it off the bat, beautiful. To me, what gave me chills was the slap of the ball into the catcher's mitt and it just echoing. And I was just like, what is this? It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. I don't even know how to explain it. Yeah.
But even like the exhibition games, they have marching bands doing the walk-up songs. They could have had a mariachi band for Joe.
Well,
it was so cool, so different. The level of respect and the intentionality behind everything, the fandom. It's not just like we were like getting held down by our friends because it's not the same culture as Dodger Stadium where you're rowdy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But everyone appreciated what was happening, and we all just I feel like we all were just having this common ground moment. It was so cool.
And the culture there is, it wasn't like a bunch of American Dodger fans took over Tokyo and that's what brought the love of the Dodgers. It was like just as immersed in the culture of the people there and how much they loved the Dodgers and how much they loved Ohtani, everything. It was just, I didn't feel like I was in somebody else's territory trying to make them or understand what it is this was. It was almost like we were learning a whole different view of it in such a respectful energy. And it was so cool.
Everybody's Dodger hats over there.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I had the homie Tim Neverett on a few weeks ago, and I just asked him, from obviously he didn't go, he called the games from El Segundo, but he was talking to some of the guys and kind of getting the vibe. And I knew it was kind of that FOMO-ish vibe when Clayton Kershaw on his own flew himself over there, didn't travel with the team, just to kind of experience the whole vibe, right? The respect, everything, and it's not often that you also get to go somewhere where Ohtani and Yamamoto and Sasaki are, I guess, really the only kind of descriptor you kind of have is larger than life, because here in America
Shota as well from the Cubs,
and yes, and no, not omitting that, but here in America we have LeBron, right? We have Luka Doncic, we have all these other athletes, and then now we've kind of imported Leo Messi, and you've kind of brought in these superstar dudes. Here, though, some of those guys still can really fly under the radar, right? Because even if you saw LeBron today walking on Rodeo Drive, that's kind of expected because it's Beverly Hills, it's California, it's whatever. Whereas you go to a Japan and you're just like, whoa, like you have an entire country that is literally like, yo, we're going to stop this and we're going to watch this game, and we don't care what's going on because our guy is playing and it doesn't matter who he's playing for.
Alonso Shohei was on every billboard, every
Yes.
commercial. You get in the taxi, he literally is the face of everything you can imagine. Even in like the tiny little alleys and places you wouldn't think you'd see anything, you see his face. Every time we talked about the podcast and we have, you know, clear bags. We did a collab last season to get into the stadium. We have Talk Dodgers to Me bags that we made a Japanese version for our trip. So we would show people and it would be like an instant connection and they'd just be like, Shohei, oh my gosh, Shohei. That's just what you hear from everybody.
Yeah, Otani. I know. Yeah, it was a very, very unbelievable experience.
I feel closer to the Dodgers,
I
don't you?
feel like that's why it's like it was emotional. You really did kind of learn like where and why and how they think and like, you know, you talk about how like there's players here that we see and that like, you know, obviously we look up to and we idolize in so many ways, but we also are a culture that idolizes a lot of people who do not deserve it. And to see this culture who they're not idolizing, like it's just the highest like respect energy.
That's so true.
And it's interesting because it's like they don't walk it, yeah, it was just it was a really cool it was a cool way to experience the team and it really did it made me feel closer. I can imagine what it did for our boys. And that was so cool to even think about.
The hosts of Talk Dodgers to Me, Jaclyn Ruiz and Melissa Myer joining me for a few more minutes here. When you were in Japan, and I know, I mean, having been fortunate enough to kind of see the world and whatnot, you see Dodgers hats and Yankees hats all over the place. How many, like, to really put it into like into context, was the majority of kind of the apparel you saw Dodgers stuff, period, or was it Otani stuff? Does that question make sense?
Mm-hmm. Probably Dodgers.
Yeah, definitely Dodgers.
Mhm.
A lot of Otani jerseys. I mean, the front of every store, you see an Otani jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like that's in the front of every store. He has a whole like New Balance collection. I remember that big store we went in. While at the stores, they're playing Joe Davis's voice from the series.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was funny because, like I mentioned, Adam, our producer, is a Cubs fan. It was very rare, not never, but that we would see a Cubs hat that we would point it out. Oh my God, Adam, look, someone's wearing a Cubs hat. So if that gives you any kind of explanation of what we were seeing when we were there, it was majority just Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating only because I know when Nomo came over, that was a big deal, right? You had Suzuki, you had Nomo, you know, not at the same time, but you know, kind of they kind of lapsed a little bit, and you know, to see kind of, because in Japan baseball is such a big deal that it's even kind of hard to contextualize how big of a deal it is there, because it's very different than it is here. They, like you said, they don't idolize the players or the teams. It's all about respect. And that's one of the reasons why I actually am fascinated by that culture, because the entire culture is about respect. I mean, you ride a subway, it's dead silent. You know,
there's zero trash anywhere.
Yeah.
And there was it's so funny. They taped at the game, they taped everyone's like rally towel to the back of a seat, you know, and we were in the elevator and she happened to have a piece of tape on the back, like that she must have gotten from, you know, and this lady peels it off. And then Melissa like turns around
and I was like, oh,
and she goes, oh my God, thank you. And she went to go grab her own trash. And the lady goes, no, it's okay. Like they are so big on like, you do not, when it's trash, like you take it as your own and you do not put that on anyone else. Like she didn't pull that off of her to give it to her.
Right.
Like that's so disrespectful to even think of it. And she was just like, she would not hand it up. And you're like, no, I can throw it out. And she was just like, no.
Yep.
It was, yeah, it's cool.
But even with that level of respect, their fandom is very different. And I'm drawing a blank. Who's the team that they played in the first exhibition?
Was it like the Giants?
I think it was the Yorimori Giants. I think it was.
Yeah.
Just even how those fans are in comparison to the second exhibition, how they had the full bands, like they're playing music, the whole thing, and again, even when the opposing team was coming up to play or to bat, I'm sorry, they stopped. Like we're not going to disrespect that team. We're not going to. And I was just like, Here, there's some douchebag that's at the top of the stadium. It's like, you suck. Or like, that's terrible. That would never happen in Japan. And that's where it's
I
kind
was saying it's so respectful. Like even the Americans that are there, like you do not want to be the person disrespecting it. And it's so respectful. You just don't. Like you just fall in line. It was a super cool situation.
But even how you get tickets, like it was hard for Americans to get tickets. And once you're there, I understand that. And I actually appreciate that on their behalf, that they're huge baseball fans. Experiencing the baseball culture taught me to appreciate that. Whoever could get tickets if you're an American. I mean, we sat in the Cubs family section.
oh, okay. But, and so like for me, I have all this crap behind me, right? It's like knickknacks that I've accumulated over the years of different things. Like there's a jersey signed by Messi. This whole row of baseballs or like the very few autographs that I have.
See what team you actually like.
So that's the funny thing is, so for this show, because it's supposed to be unbiased, but it's West Coast biased. I mean, I'm a Dodgers fan, but I work in sports too. So it's one of those where I don't necessarily, if you work in sports, you can't really have fandom because you're so hyper focused on the team that you work with, right?
It's funny you say that because I do have a brand as well. And like Alicia, she was like, I can't wear branded stuff when she was like in the stadium. Like she couldn't rep the Dodgers. Like you almost have to keep it super neutral about all of it.
Yeah, so it's one of those like, and it's funny when you work in sports. I'm very fortunate to work in sports and music, but I don't really even wear like the merch for like bands I work with, or even I work for University of Utah Athletics. So like during the season, this whole closet that's to my right here is just filled with the work clothes that they give us, and then on the road, I don't really wear that except for when we're at a stadium or an arena, right? Original point though is I don't like autographs. That's a random thing about me, that I like collecting random knickknacks that you can't just go and buy, right? So like this banner was given to me by this Mexican team that played here, that you can't just buy this banner, or there's one from the Mexico national team that's covered right there that they that's the one they exchange with the opposing team. You can't just buy those things, right? One of these baseballs is signed by Hideo Nomo, and Nomo was weird about giving autographs. And for me, I didn't want the autograph as a Dodger fan. I wanted it because he was one of the first dudes that came over and kind of put that culture out there for the world to see, right? He came over here out of his comfort zone, pitched in the best league in the world, so on and so forth. And for me, as the byproduct of immigrants, that's huge, because you're talking about coming to a different world, literally, and you're immersing yourself here and doing the thing. And that's why for me, like, Nomo's one of those important kind of Japanese guys, not just because he played for the Dodgers, but because he came over here, put the sport on there, but also because he followed all those things that we just talked about, the respect thing, all that stuff. Like he's very quiet. First time I met him, couldn't have been nicer, all about respect, right? Like, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. But that's the whole culture, is respect. And really, after meeting him, I started kind of learning about the Japanese culture, and then you see the game itself, and you're like, whoa, now it makes sense to why a lot of guys also are kind of weirded out going over there at first, because it's a completely different thing. The regimen's different. Starters don't go every fifth day. Things like those little nuances are very different. Hence the why I had FOMO that people like you were there, because all these things that I've read about and talked about with friends for so long, I still haven't had the chance to experience. Right. If the Dodgers go back, you best believe that I will sell all of these autographs.
You have to.
I can't wait to go back.
I think that's why I'm not worried about Roki, or like, I think seeing what he has come from, obviously he's going to have an adjustment period here with all of us crazy banshees just screaming and yelling. And we think the louder we could get, like, what do we always talk about as like American culture is like, oh, our stadium got so quiet. Our boys aren't doing well and we got quiet. Like, it's a negative thing here. Yeah. And so sometimes I'm like, dude, he has to get used to us crazy people. Like, he's over here just overstimulated. He doesn't have the right toilet. Like, I feel really bad for him. I'm just like, give him some space. Like, let him get used to us crazy people.
You have to give him the right tools. And if you don't have the right tools, you're not going to thrive. So give the man his goddamn bidet.
He's going to get it.
He did already. What was the quote? He told the Dodgers, if you were to get a bidet style
Well,
toilet, it'll up your chances of
It'll,
signing.
it'll essentially close the deal. And what did they
because
do?
this is very important to me.
We have a new 3-story clubhouse, so I'm assuming that they have Japanese style toilets.
If they don't in a 3-story clubhouse, then we have a problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
One of my old high school softball coach, he works at Dodger Stadium and he works in the patch room that helps like connect a lot of the broadcasting situations. And he was telling us though, like honestly, our boys, like we have a few chefs and like they really like they tailor to what is best for each athlete.
Mhm.
And yeah, honestly, if Roki needs a toilet, like they're gonna get him that toilet.
Mhm.
No, and I mean, listen, we hear the discourse all the time, right? That the Dodgers. I still hear it from time to time. Oh, the Dodgers are bad for baseball. Listen, your team could do the same damn thing. They just don't want to. But the thing that the Dodgers have done is they've made it abundantly clear whatever that investment is into the player that we need to do, we're going to do it. Whether it's analytics, whether it's having this analytics staff, whether it's getting you the right coach, whatever it is, they're going to make it happen. So that's why for me, when I read that quote, I was like, see, the proof's in the pudding, because they're giving the guy the toilet that he wants. And that's important. That's an important tool. As a man, I know that sounds stereotypical, but as a dude, if you don't have the right toilet, you're not comfortable on your toilet, it's just not going to work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not gonna feel good.
No.
And not just that, we had some of the Dodger wives on last season, and they were telling us that there's someone who their job is to take care of the wives and set up things for them when they go on the road and things like that. What that does for their husband to know that they're taken care of and they're comfortable and they're happy, like they're thinking about every little thing.
Yep. Last thing before I set you guys loose. The National League West, I think, is going to end up being the best division in baseball when it's all said and done. Obviously, we don't need to talk about the Giants unless y'all want to. But do you see that panning out the same way? And if so, who is kind of the biggest problem for the Dodgers in this division?
Padres. I mean, it's fun to talk about the Giants again. I feel like we haven't really talked about them in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's a fun rivalry that
Diamondbacks are really good.
Mhm.
Giants are number 1 in our division right now, but I think it's the Padres that play really well against us, and they were our biggest challenge last year, and I think they're even better this year. But I still think we'll take the NL West.
When you just said that, the first thing that really came to me, my gut, it's like I think we're our only issue.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think we can play ball against anyone. They're bringing their A game, but if we bring ours, I think we're our biggest downfall if we don't use that correctly. Yeah, I don't really think we have. It's just good baseball right now, and that's great. So in the end, focus on your team, and I think that's what is going to make us thrive. Worrying about everyone else and whether or not they're going to show up or not. We all know they're coming to play like their best baseball.
Yeah.
They have this thing to prove. I think it's ego of like, who do you guys think you are type of thing. We were just on ESPN 710. And Kurt Morrison was saying how, and he's a Giants fan, but he was like saying, he's like, I don't think the Dodgers show up knowing that like that game matters as much as it maybe matters to the Cubs or maybe matters to, and I was like, I don't know if the Dodgers are showing up like, oh, we're just hot crap and like, we don't care.
If you listen to them and when they're answering questions and stuff, their motto is they only care about themselves. One day at a time. We only focus on us. We play Dodger baseball. That's what they think about.
Mm-hmm.
So if they continue to do that, I think we're going to be great.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% right.
Competition.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, you if you're going to compete against anyone, compete against yourself and not everybody else, because you can control most of that at least. I will say, and I'm not just giving the Diamondbacks flowers because Torey Lovello is a friend of baseball is boring, but I think they're going to have a top 5 rotation in all of baseball. By the time the dust is all settled, that pitching rotation is a problem. And I actually think they are going to end up being the Dodgers' biggest problem as it goes along, because the Giants, I do think the Giants will make some moves kind of as we get closer to the deadline. Giants are great. The Padres should be better, candidly. They should be, but they're going through their own stuff. But it's interesting how Jaclyn said that it sounds like the Dodgers could just be their own problem. And you know what? Baseball is 90% psychological, 10% physical. So you may be onto something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're our biggest enemy or not. But I don't know. I really do think that the team They care. I had a moment where Miggy Rojas in Tokyo, he went out into the outfield. This was like all the Pokemon, like all of them were like coming off the field, and it was kind of coming down from the first game ceremony. But I saw him run out by himself, and he prayed, he stretched, he looked up, and I feel like he was just soaking it in. And then he just, to me, it's just getting his mind right. And I think the guys know. I think they know that coming into the season, we're mentally going to have to be different. And I think they're really trying to hone in on what it is that needs to get them through everything. So I just believe in them so much.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think their biggest distraction is when media and they're hearing the outside noise and they're being asked about other teams and stuff like that, because all they want to do is focus on themselves. And I think if they continue to do that, then maybe we'll have another year like last year.
Well, and that's why when we started the show, right? The season is young. They've only played 28 games. So for me, when I hear people say, "Oh, the sky's falling" and blah blah, it's like, "Yo, talk to me in July." In July, we'll kind of know where the shit's really at when it comes to injuries, when it comes to consistency and inconsistency, so on. If Max Muncy has not figured it out between now and July, then we have a problem. No,
Maybe
Max,
we'll have Joe Kelly back by July.
and no,
I've already seen, like, people are like, "Is Joe Kelly? Can we just get Joe Kelly back?"
Yeah, they're like Brent Honeywell.
Yeah.
Let's get him back. Let's get Joe Kelly back.
And that's the thing too, right? Is you just never know, because you may, obviously, we're not trying to put anything out into existence, but a relief farm may go down, and you have to figure something else out there, right? So again, you have guys like Joe that are willing to wait in order for them to find a spot, right? I mean, we haven't even talked about Clayton Kershaw. That dude will probably be ready, I think, probably in July anyway. I mean, I think they're going to save him.
Ohtani. We haven't even had him
And
come in.
Ohtani. And here's the thing. The reason I don't talk about Ohtani pitching, I kind of look at it like Fight Club. I'm not going to talk about it until it actually happens.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is because why put more pressure on the guy? Because he's going to be a DH, and that's why you paid the dude what you paid him, because no matter what, he's doing his thing anyway. Let him excel at it. Whatever he wants to do, let him do it, because he's the goddamn unicorn. Let him do whatever he wants to do. And also if he's not ready, he's not ready. I mean, that's just what it is. Do you want him to get hurt and not be able to hit leadoff? No.
No, but I mean, as somebody who is a certain position, I don't know. Maybe I'm almost thinking he's going to rise to the occasion, and maybe it's going to switch it up for him a little and like bring something else other than just being a DH. Like, I don't know. Maybe that makes him even better.
And I agree with that.
The base stealing last season because he couldn't pitch. I mean, he's not going to do anything if he doesn't feel ready and confident. So I just trust him. I trust the Dodgers. So like you, I'm kind of feeling the same way. When we start hearing that he's going to be pitching, I can't wait. But until then, I'll keep watching him hit homers.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end, if his offensive output is going to be this, cool. I'm cool with that. I'm 1,000% fine with that. Just because that's a part of why you brought him here, is because he's one of the best hitters on the planet.
And his new celebration that they're all doing.
I just think about it though, because it's just such an interesting part. I mean, we're talking about Ohtani, and he hasn't even tapped into a position that he played, and who knows what that's going to look like. Like, I don't know. I don't need it. He's great doing what he's doing, but it's like, we could have a completely new season when you know what I mean? Like, different aspects kind of come in. It just can completely change the game.
Ooh, I'm getting excited.
I know. That's the thing, is that it was just like, wait, what? Like, we could, like, people don't even know what we are.
No. And that's why for me, it's like, I'll talk about it when the time is right, when he's ready, because I'm not putting any bad juju out there, but at the same time, he's the unicorn. Let him do. I was reading I was reading some comments, and people were like, "Oh, you paid him $700 million to be a glorified DH." I'm like, how much do you think he's brought back into the organization?
Yeah.
So like, it's a business decision. That's just what it is, right? And so that's where the fandom conversation is always funny to look at it, because, and I understand my perspective is a little different than the average fan, but even then, it's like, you're telling me that you would not have paid $700 million to win 1, 2, maybe 3 championships? I would have.
Yeah, where a jersey is being sold out in every stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I could not get that Murakami beanie. That's the only thing I wanted from that collection. Was the beanie.
We were just talking about that.
We scoured Tokyo to try to.
Couldn't even get a hat.
Yeah, and that's all I wanted was the Murakami beanie. That's it. I didn't want anything else, and I couldn't even get that because it sold out like 30 seconds after it went live. That's it. So for me, it's like, hey, if they've already made the money, right? Or they're going to continue to print money. So it's one of those where if that means that he doesn't pitch, cool, that's fine by me. Because at the end of the day, let him do what he's going to do. There's very few guys, very, very, very few guys that can go on any major league team and just kind of dictate the terms of whatever it is they're going to do. Ohtani happens to be one of them. The caveat is there's probably no one else in Major League Baseball that respects baseball the way that Ohtani does. And he's the most famous baseball player on the planet, and he's kind of the one setting the example. So that's where it's funny, because if they came to him and said, hey, we need you to pitch, what do you think he's going to say? Okay. I mean, that's how much he respects the game. So that's why for me, it's like, hey, he's the unicorn, kind of let him do whatever he wants. But I also know they're not going to just tell him, hey, this is what you have to do. That's not what I don't think Stan Kasten and co would absolutely do that. They'd just be like, hey, like, how you feeling now? I'm feeling okay, cool. Then he'll throw off a mound and that's it. But I'm cool with it. Very, very last thing. Where can the people find your show? And do you have any guests this upcoming week on the new episode of Talk Dodgers to Me?
So you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're Talk Dodgers to Me on Instagram, talkdodgerstome.com for our bags. This week we have our weekly Two Girls Talking Baseball, and we just shoot the shit and talk baseball just like we are right now. We have actually Orals coming on for episode 55, which is coming up.
Okay.
The Bulldog, number 55. We had to do that.
I see what you did there.
And you know what? We actually are interviewing someone fun tomorrow. She sang the national anthem at Dodger Stadium. First, she sang at the Laker game, and one of the Dodger owners was there, heard her, thought she was amazing, asked her to come to Dodger Stadium. So we're very excited to hear about it all. We got to see her on Friday night sing. So we're going to interview her tomorrow and hear about her experience.
Sick. Follow them. I'm about to follow them. I've been horrible with Instagram the last little while, so I will follow you guys here shortly. But thank you for joining. Let's do it again maybe later in the season. And
thank you for having us.
Maybe after Ohtani pitches, which I don't think is going to happen for a while, but maybe after the unicorn throws a game, we'll recircle and chat about Fight Club. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Let's do it.
Well, thank you again. That's Jaclyn Ruiz and Melissa Myer of Talk Dodgers to Me. Please go follow them just like I'm about to. And as always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of West Coast Bias presented by Baseball Isn't Boring. We talked a lot about my boss, Joe Kelly. So, Joe, please don't fire me because we were actually nice to you this time.
We love you, Joe.
We love you, Joe.
And again, thank you again for tuning in, and we will catch you down the road, and we'll see you next time.